Have you ever run into the problem where you want to 3D print your model, but it's not quite working because you have a hole in it? Or maybe you want to make some really cool simulations inside of Cinema 4D, but it's not quite running right because you notice that you have a hole in your 3D model. Well, today we're going to go over how to fix that with the Close Polygon Hole tool inside of Cinema 4D. And I think it's one of the best tools for closing holes inside of your model. And we'll break down all the different settings so that you know what's the best for your project. Let's go ahead and get started. Here we are inside of Cinema 4D. You'll notice that we'll need a model in here with some holes to fix. So I'm going to navigate over to my primitives over here and click on the cylinder. I'll turn on display garage shading lines so that I can see the lines on my mesh. I'd like to increase our segments up to 22 and increase our height segments some as well. Let's go for 11, looks good to me. And you'll notice that right now, if I'm in point mode, I can't select the points. If I'm in edge mode, I can't select the edges. Polygon mode, can't select polygons to delete. And that's because right now our primitive is a parametric object that's controlled by these values. If we want this to be editable with our mesh tools, we need to hit the C hotkey or this button down here, make editable, and that will make our mesh something that we can select and edit. I'm going to actually go ahead and move this up a little bit here. I'm holding shift so that it snaps to 120 centimeters. And I'll click on polygon mode and make some holes in here. I'll make a hole here. I'll make some on a flat surface, some on a round surface, some holes that are odd shapes so that you can see what options would work best for your project. So here we go. We have 3 holes. Now where can you find this tool to now fix it? You can find it over here, off to the side, Close Polygon Hole. You can see that the hotkey for it is MD if you hover over it. Now another place where you can find this is in your mesh menu under Add. You'll find your Close Polygon Hole tool here. And of course, you can use the hotkey MD. And that will open up the tool as well, and you'll see all the options for it over here in your Attributes Manager. Now you'll notice that we have different options here for our polygon type. So what does that mean? It means what type of surface do you want Cinema 4D to use to close the hole? And we have 3 different options here, and they come with slightly different options. So let's break those down and what hole they are best for filling. So let's go ahead and click up here and start off with the basic. Basic is a good place to start. And the basic polygon type is, you actually have some options for the basic that are unique to it. And that is, let's first start off with this N-gon. You'll notice that this is pretty much one polygon closing this hole. If we choose tris, it'll close it using triangles. If I choose quads, it'll close it using only quads. So you can choose how you would like to close this. If you select new polygons, it will select the surface that is being made to close the hole. And you'll notice that if you're in polygon mode, if I choose select outline, it will select the edges surrounding the hole, but you'll only see that if you move into edge mode. And this tool does work in point mode, edge mode, and polygon mode. So you can close holes in any one of these 3 modes up here. And we'll talk about this fong break outline in a moment. I think you'll see that better on a curved surface, so that's where I'm going to show that tool. If you choose close all holes, it will close all holes using that option. But you may notice down here, especially on this odd-shaped hole, that this isn't maybe the smoothest way to close the hole. It's not the cleanest way. So it's not a smooth surface, and if you were to 3D print this, it would look like there was a dent in your cylinder here, and maybe that's not exactly what you're going for. So let's go over some other options in here. I'm actually going to hit undo to remove all of those. Hit undo again. The way to undo is Control Z for PC, Command Z for Mac. And let's talk about this grid option here. So I'll go into grid and let's go ahead and close this up here. So now you'll see that it is closing with a grid formation. It can be useful for if you want to select loops. The downside is that sometimes the grid formation can actually have more polygons. So if you need something really low poly, this might not be your #1 choice. But it's a really good option in many cases, and it's actually the one that I use the most out of all three of these modes. And then the last one here is patch. And patch has additional options. It probably has the most options out of these three. So let's go ahead and take a look at this patch rotation. You can actually rotate the section that is being patched or closed. So if I adjust this value here, you can see that it's moving around. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're actually rotating it. So that can be useful if you want to align it in a certain direction and you find that best for 3D modeling. This patch width, I'll show you how that works. So right now it's at 0. If we increase this to 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see that these polygons are becoming a little bit bigger. Our polygon count is dropping down, so if you need a low polygon count, you can do that. But you'll also notice that we are maintaining quads. Now, it may be harder to select loops going some other directions, like maybe you can select them going in this direction for 3D modeling purposes, but you'll no longer be able to select them going the opposite direction as easily because of the way this is set up. So depending on your project, you may want to adjust your patch width, and that can come in helpful. I want to show how this isn't the best solution usually for down here for these odd shapes. So I'll actually click away to complete this process up here and then re-enter the tool using MD. I'll click in here and you'll see this is kind of a crazy surface in here. And even if I rotate it, it's not getting a whole lot better. And even as I adjust the patch width, it's not really smooth. So that's not the best option for something like that. Along these curves, it's really, if you're working on a curve and you're closing a hole along a curve, I recommend using the grid option because it just makes it a whole lot smoother. This patch isn't the best for that. I'm going to hit undo here. I want to talk about this Phong break outline here, and I'm going to use this as an example. So right now we don't have the Phong break outline selected. And you can see the shading along the cylinder looks pretty smooth. And if I were to click away right now, you'd see that the shading still looks smooth. If I change it into garage shading and remove the lines on the mesh, you can see the shading still looks smooth. Now I'm going to hit undo. Now we have a hole again. I'm going to show you it with that option turned on. So I'll use MD to enter into the tool, go into polygon mode, because I need to be in polygon mode, at edge mode, or point mode in order to use this tool. I'll click in here. I'll select Phong break outline, And once again, I'll go into model mode, turn off, make sure that I'm in garage shading without lines, and you'll see that we actually don't have as smooth of shading. So that is what that Fong break outline is doing. It is causing those shading changes there. And maybe if you're working on something that's supposed to have some harder edges, you want to turn that on. So that's why it's an option, is perhaps you need that in your model. But in case if you don't, you need to know to leave that option off. So these are the Polygon Hole closing tools, but if you want to learn more mesh modeling tools, I've covered all of the mesh modeling tools for hard surface modeling inside of Cinema 4D, and you can check those out on my channel. I also have a website where I add additional learning resources to it, and that is ambient3danimations.com. Please let me know, what is your favorite method for closing holes on your 3D model? Did one of these sound like they're the best fit for you? Which one do you like? Is there one that you just hate? Everyone likes to work inside of Cinema 4D a different way. Let me know what you like to do. And I hope you find that helpful, and I'll see you next time.